I sat at my kitchen table in the quiet of my Lexington home, October light slipping through old lace like it was late for something. The envelope was heavy in cream, my son's precise handwriting neat as a scolding. For a second, I let myself be a fool. I imagined an invitation, maybe even a note asking if I'd still walk him down the aisle like we joked about when he was 9, and a tux meant a clip-on bow tie and Oreos. I tore the seal with my thumb and shook out a stack of paper that slid across the table like ice. Not an invitation, it's an itemized bill. $50,000, Farnsworth Estate. Full property weekend rental. Gardens, tent, crystal chandeliers, gold Chiavari chairs, valet. Signature bourbon tasting hour. $20,000 bluegrass catering. 4-course. With lobster flown in from Maine, late-night sliders, vegan menu for Silicon crowd, imported wines. $10,000 honeymoon suite on Maui, private beach access, couples spa package, helicopter tours of the road to Hannah, VIP courtesy through, sponsor card on file. At the bottom, in my son's careful print, Dad, after the problems you've caused the family, be grateful I allowed you to contribute. This covers your share. Send the check soon. Victoria and I are counting on it. He didn't sign it, love, Kevin. He didn't sign it at all. For a minute, I just stared. The paper was cool and smooth under my fingers. The numbers blurred, then sharpened. The way your eyes refuse to believe and then insist you learn how. On the table, the framed photo of Kevin at 8 caught a slant of light. Gap-toothed. Freckled, a filthy baseball cap too big for his head. His hand was in mine, both our arms dusted with red Jacobson Park clay. He beamed like we'd invented afternoons. Shock arrived first, a cold wave that made my chest tighten the way it had in the hospital the day Alina told me the chemo wasn't working. I crumpled the note, heard it crackle, then smoothed it back. Out and laid it flat. No, I wasn't going to carelessly rip anything else today. Rage came next. Hot, stupid. I let it pass through like a summer storm you don't bother to run from. What stayed wasn't fire. It was something colder, heavier. It had a planned shape. The floorboards complained when I stood. Everything in this old house does. I splashed my face in the sink and looked out the window at my square of yard of maple that refuses to die. A bird bath Alina insisted on that the neighborhood squirrels now treat like a communal tub. The house smelled like coffee cooling in old lemons. It used to smell like Elena's lemon cake, and whatever soup she decided poverty could mean dignity with enough pepper. She taught me plenty. Today she taught me something I'd nearly forgotten. Sometimes you don't shout. Sometimes you just adjust the sight and aim. Kevin's problems I'd caused rattled in my head like a bad penny. I'd been a decent engineer at a firm on New Circle Road, took the overtime they offered, took the crumbs when the boss's golf buddies took the bread. We never had much after Elena got sick, but we didn't stand in line we couldn't afford either. When she died in 2015, everything got smaller and louder. Kevin was 25 and angry at God and the water bill and the way grief makes. You feel like your voice never quite gets out of your throat. He said I should have done more. Didn't say what more was. My old laptop sat on the counter like a retired dog, slow but loyal. I opened it and waited as it coughed itself awake. Lexington news floated by. Traffic on Nicholasville. A column asking if the Cats will ever have a sane season. My fingers typed Victoria and Kevin wedding before my better angels could ask for restraint. Slick site bloomed dash, Victoria and Kevin forever.com. Photo of them in matching whites on a fence. At Keeneland, like they owned the place, and the horse in the background. Sections labeled story, registries, weekend, our team. I clicked our team. There they were. Planner, Evangeline Hart Events, Louisville and Lexington. Tagline, because perfection is a plan. Venue, Farnsworth Estate outside Versailles, rolling bluegrass, old stone, new money. Catering, bluegrass catering entertainment. DJ Loam, I had to ask Google. If Loam was a dirt joke, it was photographer, Juniper and Slate Studio Valet, Thoroughbred Parking Honeymoon, Hannah Moon Resort, Maui. Thank you to our sponsor. You two, our sponsor, lived in tiny italics under a photo of a private beach. Sponsor, that would be me. My face in the reflection of the laptop screen looked back colder than it felt inside, stubborn as the maple. I clicked registries. Kitchen things they'd never use. Bed sheets more expensive than my first car's brakes. A copper house just pan no one needs. Cash fund for our future experiences. With a suggested gift of $500 and a note, help us start married life. With memories. I clicked weekend, and there it was. A schedule built like a launch. Friday bourbon tasting at the estate, black tie optional, but encouraged. Saturday ceremony at 4. Dinner to follow, dancing under the lights. Sunday farewell brunch, attire derby chic. At the bottom of the page, a shaded box, family. Seating is limited due to our intimate guest list. Thank you for understanding. I guess I was outside family now. I poured another coffee that didn't taste like a thing and started making calls. Not because I wanted to be a saboteur, because I wasn't going to be a victim in my own story. If I was going to be a villain, I would at least be the kind with a code first call. Farnsworth Estate. A cheerful woman answered on the second ring. Farnsworth Estate. This is Maddie. Afternoon, Maddie, I said. This is Arthur Lawson. It's my son's booked with Ucaven Lawson and Victoria Pierce. I wanted to clear up a billing question. Let me pull that up, she said. Keyboard. Tapping like rain. Yes, Mr. Lawson. The Lawson-Pierce wedding. November 12th. Gorgeous time of year. We have a balance due on the second deposit. It's showing sponsor all in the notes. And who is Al? I asked. Arthur Lawson, she said, patient. Per the planner, you're the sponsor. Sponsor, I repeated. The word tasted like a bruise. Maddie, I'm calling to make sure you do not, under any circumstance, charge my card name or anything with my authorization. If there is any authorization on file with anything but my voice, it's fraudulent. You should expect your payment from the couple or their planner. If they told you I'm paying, they lied. And he was quiet for a beat. Noted, Mr. Lawson, she said, voice cooling a degree into professional. We don't charge third party cards without explicit written consent. You have not received any. You did receive a note that you would be handling funds after some family tension. I'll flag this as do not charge. I do need to let the planner know. Please, do, I said. And Maddie? Yes, sir. You ever have a father call like this before? I asked. She exhaled. More than you'd think, she said. But not usually this polite. Polite's cheap, I said. Thank you. Second call. Bluegrass Catering. A man named Ernesto answered with a laugh in his voice. When he looked up the invoice, the Lawson-Pierce Builder and Bourbon Glaze people. That's them, I said. Balance due 10 days before, he said. We have a note about a sponsor. Remove that note, I said. I'm not paying a dime. If Victoria and Kevin want a lobster that took a red eye, they can buy the ticket. He snorted. Amen. We won't even accept an outside card on an event like this. Too many chargebacks when feelings go sideways. I liked Ernesto instantly. I'll note, no third-party charges. Payment due from client only. You saved yourself a headache. I'm retired, I said. I've had my quota of headaches. Third call, Honeymoon Resort. I got a woman named Leilani, voice soft as a good pillow. Oh, she found the reservation. Honeymoon concierge package, she read. Courtesy rate, courtesy of sponsor Lawson. Remove. My name from anything that suggests courtesy? I said gently. I won't be responsible for this reservation or anything attached to it. If there's a card on file with my name, please flag it as unauthorized. All we have is a note. From the planner, she said. No card. I will add, do not attach third-party payment without written consent. Thank you, Leilani, I said. How's the surf today? Behaving, she said. And we both smiled into a phone call between two people who would never meet and somehow liked each other. Last call before the kettle rattled. Evangeline. Heart events. I got a voicemail with a smile in it. You've reached Evangeline. If it's an emergency, text. If it's a balloon question, the answer's always more. I left no message. I prefer problems to be written down. I sat back and stared at the maple while I waited for my coffee to stop pretending it was fresh. The old pocket watch ticked in my palm. Father's, his father's. All those men who didn't have the luxury of words like sponsor and curated menu and derby chic. They built things, then they slept. My phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. "This is Evangeline with Heart Events," a voice said that could sell ice to an August porch. "Mr. Lawson, I missed your call." "I didn't call," I said. "Farnsworth or Bluegrass must have," she said, and in between the O and the rest. I heard the recalibration of a woman whose job was to make problems into forks with bows. "I'm sorry to bother. Just wanted to clarify that you are, in fact, the family sponsor." "I'm not," I said. Silence. It wasn't long. It was surgical. "The couple told me you were comfortable with taking care of the following: venue deposit, final catering balance, and honeymoon incidentals." "It's my understanding, your understanding, is what they told you to understand," I said. "This is your official notice that no vendor is to consider me a payment source. Please note that on your master file, and communicate it to all parties, if any vendor tries to charge a card in my name, I will consider it fraud and respond accordingly." The voice polished itself 2 degrees colder. "Understood," she said. "Will you be attending the wedding?" "Evangeline." I said. "Then I must ask," she said gently, "that you leave the event logistics to me. I will adjust the budget." "I'm leaving logistics to gravity," I said. "I just declined to fund it." She cleared her throat and went back to her script. "Of course. Thank you for the clarity." "You're welcome," I said, and hung up. My hand shook then, just a little, not from fear. From the adrenaline of telling the truth in a world that prefers it be dressed up. In the family group chat, I wrote one line and deleted it. He wouldn't hear it. He'd screen grab it. He'd use it as a prop. Instead, I typed an email to Victoria's parents. I'd met them once, 3 Thanksgivings ago, when we tried to. Pretend this thing was smoother than it was. It was Tom Pier's regional VP for something that sells software to people who pretend software is a personality. She was Lillian Pearls, and the kind of manicured kind that makes you suspect the gardener knows too much. Subject: a courtesy regarding Kevin and Victoria's wedding. Tom and Lillian, I hope this finds you well. I wanted to clarify something that may have been presented to you differently. I received an invoice from Kevin for $80,000 to cover venue catering honeymoon. It included a note implying my sponsorship and suggested I'd be grateful to contribute, along with a reminder that I'm not invited to the wedding, to be clear. I am not paying this invoice. I have informed the venue caterer, planner, and honeymoon resort that I am not a sponsor. No one has my consent to charge anything in my name. I wanted you to hear that from me. We are not put in a position based on false assumptions. I wish them well. I will honor my late wife, Alina, by making a donation in her name to the UK College of Engineering Scholarship Fund for first-generation students. That will be my contribution. Regards, Arthur Lawson. I let it sit for a minute, then hit send. It took exactly 6 minutes for my phone to ring, Arthur Tom said, breathless with the kind of anger you get when you realize the script you've been rehearsing is the wrong play. "We were told you insisted on paying. We were told you refused to attend. I was told I shouldn't embarrass the guests," I said, "because my pension isn't photogenic." He coughed. Good Lord. He went quiet for a long beat. When he spoke again, his voice had all the spin cooked out of it. "We'll speak to the kids. Thank you for the heads up." "Tom," I said, "you seem like a straightforward man when no one's looking. Make sure they understand they need to cover their commitments. Vendors are not charities." "No," he said, "they are not." After I hung up, I picked up Elena's picture, the one on the hill at Raven Run, hair pulled back, a hand on her hip, laughing at something I'd said that was probably not as funny as her laugh made it. "Okay," I told her, "I'll do this clean." I drove to the bank. The young teller, with a nose ring named Megan, called me by name because this is Kentucky and sometimes we still live like a small town. I asked for a cashier's check made out to the University of Kentucky College of Engineering. Memo: Alina M. Lawson Scholarship Fund. $10,000. It wasn't $80,000. It was enough to put a kid who reads schematics better than menus in a seat they earned. Slid the check across the oak to the development officer in a tie that looked like he chose it because he has a soul. He didn't ask questions. He said, "Thank you. That's all I needed." On the way home. I stopped at Wheeler's to see Harold Farnsworth, who now runs the estate his last name sits on like a hat worn a little too tight. We'd worked together for years, me as the engineer who understood old, Beamsum as the man with a passion for chandeliers and very expensive gravel. He was on a stool at the counter with coffee I knew. Tasted like hope and ash. Art, he said, standing with the stiffness of a man who has lifted too many chairs for other people's parties. Don't tell me your maple finally won. Winning, I said, but I'm stubborn. Lettuce squinted at my face. What's wrong? You're November 12th, I said. Lawson Pierce, he groaned. Doe. We have them on a payment schedule like a cardiologist, and they keep sending me their planner like she's afraid of a pen. I'm not here to stir trouble, I said. I'm here to ask a favor. Enforce your contract to the letter. And do not accept any payment, authorization, or sweet-talking with my name attached. Harold nodded. I already flagged it. Addie told me you called. We need the second deposit by Friday or we cancel. I don't play with kids who think a wedding is a movie. You cancel? I asked. Even this close? Especially this close, he said. Better than vendors arriving to a field of promises? I put a 20 on the counter. He pushed it back at me and didn't say we both knew he needed it. He reached across and squeezed my arm like a man who'd seen me cry after Alina and pretended not to. You're a good man, Art, he said. Good men get put in bad positions by their own kin. I hate that part. Me too, I said. But I can choose the next position. When I got home, there was a letter waiting, certified from Evangeline's office. Budget revision, the subject said. It was a sheet full of numbers moved from one column to another, as if rearranging could make less into more. The note at the bottom asked, in polite cursive, if I would reconsider for the sake of family harmony. Family harmony. I laughed out loud, a short, sharp sound I didn't recognize as mine. At 6:31 p.m., the phone lit with Kevin. I let it ring, texted instead. You had no right to contact our vendors. Send the check. It's embarrassing to change things now. You owe me this. Victoria's parents are asking questions. What did you say to them? You were selfish. I typed and erased 10 different versions of a sentence that would make me feel clever and make nothing better. Finally, I sent 3 lines. I am not funding your wedding. Do not attempt to use my name with vendors. I wish you well, he replied, with a screenshot of a bank account. I didn't recognize and a threat about public posts and what the community would think. I put the phone face down and made myself an omelet that tasted like nothing and made me feel like a person who still exists when he isn't needed as a prop. At 8:22 p.m., a number I didn't recognize called. Mr. Lawson, a smooth voice said. This is Detective Calvin Hart with the Lexington Police. We received a report from your bank about an attempted authorization in your name for a catering deposit. I sat very still. What? I asked. Though I knew. Looks like someone tried to add your card to an online pay portal, he said, but triggered a fraud alert because you had a do not charge note. They flagged it to us because the note said too. I closed my eyes. I won't press charges, I said. Not now. But I want this noted. I want a case number in the event that my name shows up anywhere it shouldn't. He read me a number. I wrote it on the back of a grocery list. Eggs, milk, respect. Thank you, detective, I said. And I appreciate the call. He paused. I'm sorry, he said in a way that made me like him. My daughter got married last year. I cried when she asked me to walk her down the aisle, and I don't cry. I hope your son comes to his senses. Me too, I said. But I'm not going to stand on the curb in the rain waiting for the bus, he promised. That night I slept like a man sits in a chair, not like a man in a bed. At 4 a.m., I woke to a text from a number labeled unknown and the odd knowledge that sometimes life feels like a play you didn't audition for. The message was a photo of the wedding website with the family section changed, out of respect. For our privacy, family attendance will be limited. Now it was my fault for the limits they'd already decided. I made a pot of coffee that tried its best and looked at the pocket watch ticking like a metronome, teaching my heart a steadier beat. The day Harold's deposit was due, rain came in straight lines that turned all of Fayette County gray. I drove to the post office with a certified letter of my own, to Evangeline Hart. Farnsworth Estate, Bluegrass Catering, Juniper and Slate. Thoroughbred Honeymoon, and because I'm not a Fulton and Lillian Pierce? It read, "This is formal notice that I, Arthur Lawson, am not the sponsor of Kevin Lawson and Victoria Pierce's wedding. No party has my consent, written or verbal, to make charges, authorizations, or payments on my behalf or in my name. Any attempt to do so is unauthorized. Attached, a copy of my driver's license to confirm identity." And the case number Detective Hart had given me, the woman at the counter weighed it like it mattered, because to me it did. "Rain," she said, as if it were a plot twist. "Blesses and rots," I said. "Back home." I made grilled cheese with the good cheddar, because I decided that doing without as a posture is as fake as doing too much. The front doorbell rang. I opened to find a woman in a black trench that made rain an accessory, her hair pulled into a chignon your fingers would get lost in. Evangeline Hart herself. "Mr. Lawson," she said. "May I come in?" "No," I said. She blinked. She adjusted. "We got your letter." "Good," I said. "May I ask why you chose to contact Tom and Lillian?" she asked, as if she were asking why I chose a tie that didn't match my shoes. "Because they heard a script," I said. "I gave them the actual lines." She stared at me long enough to make a less stubborn man offer a chair. "I am not your enemy," she said. "I am trying to execute an event with grace and minimal pain. Your actions have created maximum pain." "I didn't ban me," I said. "I didn't lie about who was paying. I didn't tell a man who buried his wife that he should be grateful to contribute." For the first time, I saw something. Like respect slipped through her mask. "You're right," she said. And the rain got quieter because honesty takes some of the noise with it. "But we have a serious problem. If Farnsworth doesn't receive the deposit by 5 p.m., they cancel. If Bluegrass doesn't receive theirs by the end of the week, they drop us. If that happens, we are not just moving money. We are moving the bones of an event this couple has built their identities around. Then perhaps," I said, "the couple should consider building their identities around something less expensive." She didn't smile. She didn't hate me. She hated that I was right. "May I ask what you intend to do?" she said. "What I'm doing?" I said, holding my boundary. "If this event collapses, it collapses under the weight of their decisions. Not my refusal to prop up a lie. You are cold," she said, not as an insult. "As an observation, I'm clear," I said. "And clarity can feel like cold to people who have been warmed by denial." She stood there in my doorway and I saw it. The crack in a professional who had spent years scheduling joy and managing grief and knew too. Well, the difference between preventing pain and delaying it. "It'll be a nightmare for them," she said. "Yes," I said. "Perhaps the kind they wake up from and choose a different morning." She nodded once, sharp and accepting. "I will adjust the plan," she said. "For what it's worth, I admire the way you are being honest without being cruel, Miss Hart," I said. "You're doing a difficult job with people who believe weddings are paragraphs in a resume. I don't envy you, but I won't pity you either. Send your invoices to the young people who asked you to pretend I was a sponsor." She left without another word, her umbrella opening like a polite argument. I shut the door and leaned my forehead against the wood and let the old house remind me I was still solid. At 4:12 p.m., Harold texted, "No deposit. Contract canceled." He added a wincing emoji I didn't know he had in him. 5 minutes later, my phone lit with Kevin. I let it ring. He texted instead, all caps, like shouting in letters could fix a fall. "You ruined it? Call me." I went out to the porch and waited for the maple to tell me something. The sky broke into small, clean tears. Mrs. Carter from next door waved with the arm that always has a pie dish in it. "You okay, Art?" she called. "I'm learning," I said, and surprised myself. The calls kept coming. Victoria, Tom, Anne. Unknown number, I imagined, was Lillian's friend, who always stood near the deviled eggs and kept score. I let them all roll to a voicemail I didn't intend to listen to. At 8:03 p.m., Rebecca called from Seattle where she was on a work trip. "I picked up Dad," she said, soft and urgent. "What's happening?" "Nothing I didn't expect," I said, "and everything I hoped I was ready for." "You didn't burn the place down, did you?" she asked, half a joke. "I refuse to be the gasoline," I said. She was quiet. Then, I'm proud of you, she said. And I'm sorry. You didn't do this, I said. I let it build, she whispered. I thought if I stayed out of it, it would collapse on its own, and I wouldn't have to be the one to stand up. You're standing now. Always, she said. I'm here. After we hung up, I pulled Elena's recipe box from the cabinet. The cards are all in her hand, squashed all caps with arrows and jokes in the margins. Don't let art salt twice, and use the good olive oil. Yes, we have good olive oil. I made her lemon cake and let the house smell right for the first time in months. The next morning, my doorbell rang at 6:50 a.m. before the sun had decided what to do. I opened it to Tom Pierce in a rain slicker and eyes that looked like he hadn't slept. Can we talk? He asked. I stepped aside. He stood in my kitchen and refused coffee like a man who has lied to himself and can't deal with caffeine. You were right, he said. About all of it. I don't know what all of it is, I said. Victoria told us you insisted on paying, he said. She told us you didn't want to attend. She exaggerated your finances to her friends. We'd set aside money, lot. We're not poor, but she told us you insisted. And you believed her because it was easier, I said. Yes, he said. It hurt him to say it. He said it anyway. We've pulled our contribution. We'll pay for a small private ceremony and a dinner afterward. That's it. No estate, no lobster, no helicopter, anything. Said, and I meant it. He scrubbed a hand over his face. I'm sorry for the way she treated you, he said. And there were tears in a man's voice who wears expensive watches. Thank you, I said. It doesn't fix it, but it helps, he nodded. Also, he added, looking like a child, who'd been told to confess by the principal and has decided to be brave. I would be proud to have you there. If you choose to come, you should probably ask your daughter, I said. We will, he said. But I wanted you to know. Where I stand? After he left, I sat at the table and stared at the lemon cake like it might advise me. My phone buzzed with a text from an email address, Evangeline containing a revised plan. Ceremony at St. Mark's Small Chapel. Dinner at the Merrick Inn, 30 guests, no DJ. A classic quartet, family included. At the bottom, Victoria. Request that you be seated on the groom's side, third row. It wasn't an apology. It was a concession. It's possibly a trap. Possibly an olive branch dipped in battery acid. Kevin's message arrived 30 minutes later. Less caps, more acid. We had no choice. Happy now. We'll do a small ceremony. Victoria's furious. This is on you. If you want to come, behave. Don't embarrass us. I put the phone face down and laughed so hard I had to put a hand over my stitches, even though I didn't have stitches this time. He still thought this was about performance. Still thought he could direct other people's lines. Part 3. The choice the day of the wedding. Lexington did its thing where the sky tries on for seasons and keeps the one you weren't dressed for. I put on the gray suit Alina liked because she said I looked like a senator in it. I put her lemon cake recipe card in my inside pocket because I wanted a piece of her near my heart that wasn't a memory pretending it was enough. St. Mark's Small Chapel is all golds and polite light. I stood in the back with Tom while we waited for the small, new plan to honor the old, big promise. He cleared his throat twice, then put a hand on my shoulder. Thank you for coming, he said. Thank you for asking, I answered. Victoria came down the aisle in a dress that cost less than a car now and more than a vacation still. She looked young, under the makeup, under the hair, scared like someone who realized the house she'd built was on sand and didn't know if the tide would be kind. Kevin looked at her like a man who wanted to be chosen even if it killed him. The ceremony was lovely and small. No microphone, no sound design, just the old words and the way people look when they say them honestly or don't. I watched my son's mouth form vows, hoped he meant, and didn't believe he understood. When it was done, they kissed as if the kiss could make everything that happened before it less true. At the dinner afterward, at Merrick, lit by candles that smelled like vanilla and relief, Victoria approached me. Her lipstick was perfect. Eyes were not. Thank you for coming, she said. You're welcome, I said. And 4. Fixing it, she added, like the words were pebbles in her mouth. I didn't fix it, I said. I let it break. She flinched.
Oh, wait.
I was under a lot of pressure, she said, defaulting to the first refuge of the modern scoundrel. So, was coal? I said. It became a diamond. You try again? She stared at me like she couldn't decide if she should throw her champagne in my face or ask me to be her father. We're going to Maui, she said. We got a different rate.
I.
Hope you enjoy the water, I said.
Ow.
Tell Leilani hello? She tilted her head. Who's Leilani? Just someone who does her job, I said. She understood she was outmatched in this kind of conversation and walked away. Kevin came next. Looser tie, 2 bourbons. Face like a man who still believes grace is something you can negotiate at the last minute. He stood there and looked at me without speaking until the silence felt like a sheet we were both under. You won, he said finally. No, I said. I refused to lose. I was angry, he said. You were cruel, I said. He nodded. Eyes shining without permission. I was cruel, he repeated, and I recognized my son for the first time in years. I won't forget, I said, but I won't hang it around your neck either. We stood for a minute. He took a breath, as if he were making a decision he'd been scared to name. I'll come by Sunday, he said. We can. Fix that porch light, K.I. said bring a ladder. He laughed then, a sound I hadn't heard since the Little League photo. I will. They left on Monday for a honeymoon. Less grand, more honest. They sent a picture of a beach that belonged to everyone, and an ice. Cream melting faster than they could eat it. It looked better than a private shoreline. It looked like a life, and me. I went home and sat on my porch and watched the maple do nothing dramatic and everything right. I made beans because Alina would approve, and lemon cake because the house demanded it. I got a letter from UK with a photo of the first Alina Lawson scholar, a girl with braids who wrote, I want to be an engineer because my granddad fixed the bridge no one else would. Thank you. I held it in my hand long enough for the ink to feel like part of my skin. Then I called Rebecca and read it to her. She cried, and I listened to her cry like it was a song we both knew. You want me to keep going? I can take you through the honeymoon hiccups, no fraud. It's just humility. The way Victoria learns to be a human without a planner. The first Sunday, Kevin fixes that porch light without YouTube, and the day we build a scholarship luncheon in Elena's. Name that looks more like a potluck than a gala, and feels exactly right. We can go all the way to the moment my son says, Dad, thank you for not saving me from my own lesson, and means it. Asterisk, 2 months later, the house breathed again. The maple threw a proper shadow. The porch light worked because Kevin fixed it on a Sunday without fanfare, and Elena's lemon cake scent had reclaimed the kitchen. The nightmare I'd made of his $80,000 fantasy a canceled estate. No lobster, no helicopter, had done its real job. It woke him up. We held Elena's scholarship potluck at the church hall, not a ballroom. Engineers to be brought crockpots. And big hopes. Rebecca read a note from our first scholar, I'll build bridges like my granddad, and cried into her paper plate. Kevin stood in the back, sleeves rolled, stacking chairs when no one was looking. After, on the porch, he handed me a small bag. A new porch switch, 2 extra bulbs. I was cruel, he said, plain. You didn't ruin my wedding. You ended a delusion. Thank you for letting me learn without rescuing me. I won't forget, I said. But I'll remember this more. He nodded, eyes damp. Sundays. He asked. Sundays, I said. They sent a honeymoon photo from a public beach. Sand on their knees. Ice cream melting faster than pride. No sponsors, no scripts. Just 2 people in the weather they could afford. I kept the pocket watch, not as a reward. As a reminder, time, like dignity, belongs to the one who refuses to give it away.